Thank God for the Group Chat is a Fresh Air Media production. This episode was recorded Sunday, January 2nd, 2022. The news and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Fresh Air Media or any other entities they represent. The events discussed may have changed by the time you hear this. This bonus episode of Thank God for the Group Chat will start in approximately 30 seconds. Yeah, so we're not going off the cuff we're not going off the cuff on this episode, but it is a little bit more relaxed because it's just me, and it's been a while since I just talked to you guys by myself. And if I'm being honest, I am the heart and soul of this podcast, and so sometimes you guys just want to hear from me, and I completely understand that. So with that said, welcome to the adventures of Robe the Machine and his unpopular opinion. If you have not subscribed to this podcast in any way, it is my job to inform you that we are wherever you find your podcast, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And of January 3rd, we are on Patreon as our main platform. So wherever you hear, if you're hearing this and you're not on Patreon, you are not getting all that you can get from this podcast. You're not even getting all that you can get from this episode. We are literally we literally have condensed these episodes. And so if you're not hearing it on Patreon, you're not getting all that you can get. And we do that so that we can support the people that support us, right? So if they're listening to this, the patrons on Patreon, they get, they get full access to this whole episode. They get full access to background noise. Background noise will no longer be on any podcast platform. It will solely be on Patreon because we are talking about some really deep stuff and some really personal stuff on there. I really recommend that you guys take heed to that. What else are we doing? There's so much more going on Patreon that I won't even get into now. I'll get into it later, but I just wanted to plug that. This is something that I didn't want to talk about during the holidays, but I knew needed to be talked about. There was no space for me to talk about it. We didn't have enough time to talk about it, but yeah, here we are. We are at the place now where we have to talk about it because it still needs to be talked about. um I'll intro it. I'll intro it before I play this. um this was floating around the internet. This was floating around social media recently. Within like the past 2 or 3 weeks, there was a man, so close to the holidays, it is tragic. There was a man that who was outside of his ex-wife's house recording a live video on Instagram, and he was admitting that he just killed his girlfriend because they were in an argument, and she threatened to have him never see his newborn child. And just like his daughter, just like his previous relationship did not allow him to do that. His ex-wife, they were in a custody battle. So this guy had just decided that he had had enough. He had enough, and he admitted to shooting her in the head. And then he drove, and he said, so yeah, man, I killed her. I just shot her in the head, and this is crazy to me. I never thought I'd be this person. I just shot her in the head, and now I'm outside of my wife's house. After I kill my ex-wife, I'm going to kill myself. I just want to say to everyone, don't let this happen to you. Be careful. Let the father see the kids. All of that. He gave that whole spiel, and as he was giving the spiel, it only lasted about 2 minutes. As if it lasted any shorter or longer. But his ex-wife came out, and she ran back in the house because he said, and he walked in the door, and he said, oh no. He said, oh no, today is the day. And that is when the video cut off. Subsequently, he wound up killing her also, and committing suicide thereafter. I haven't seen this clip before, but it's from the neighborhood, and his neighbor is giving an account. So here we go.
And I could see one little girl in there crying, and I peeked in the window again, and then I saw the second girl in there, and I was, trying to calm them down.
The two little girls neighbor Michael Eisenberg says he found inside a running BMW after Saturday's apparent murder-suicide on Edenbrook Drive in Columbia are, according to online court records, at the center of a contentious years-long custody battle between the murder suspect, Ray J. Black, and the murder victim, his wife, Wendy Black.
I think a lot of things like this tend to happen when they're domestic for the first most of the time, So I tend not to be too worried. It is very frightening.
Online records in Howard County Circuit Court show a hearing in the custody case slated for next month, and nearly 4 years of accusations lodged across dozens and dozens of filings. Mr. Black accusing his ex-wife of trying to hit him with her car and hiding her address and therefore the children. But dominating the custody case file, domestic violence charges filed against Ray J. Black by his ex-wife, Wendy, including her handwritten pleas to the court for protection. Quote, "I am terrified because I do not know what he is capable of doing to me and the girls. I do not feel we are safe. I do not feel safe at all. I feel that my life is in danger." Those fears echoed in more formal filings by her attorneys over the years. Complaints that Ray J. Black has serious issues with anger management and violence, has a history of alcohol and drug abuse, has made threats to harm and kill Wendy Black, including killing her with a gun, and that he has easy access to weapons. He was also ordered by a judge recently to pay $5,000 in attorney's fees to his ex-wife, an attorney hired when he refused to turn over necessary documentation, including his employment records, his tax filings, and proof and receipts that he had gone to a therapist. Reporting live from Ellicott City tonight, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL, TV 11 News.
All right. Now, before we go forward, I do want to say this, that I'm glad I watched that. I'm glad and I'm glad that you all are listening to that, having heard all of those things that he was non-compliant about a whole lot of stuff, which is why you can kind of see that. I don't know about kind of. You can see why she was not availing her children to him. She felt as though that she and the children were in danger. I do want to say this. As a father who, and we're going to be honest here, as a father who is in, I don't even want to call it a custody battle. I don't want to call it a custody battle. I think my daughter should be able to have a relationship and be able to live with her mother. With that said, I think my daughter should be able to have a relationship and live with me. I mean, you can't be two places at one time, but you can be in multiple places, for a while. You know what I mean? And they say that studies have shown that being able to transition from house to house has helped with transition over the child's life, and that they understand more and more how things change. They adapt well and all of that type of stuff, which I can say about my daughter already. Her adaptation skills are amazing at one. I just hate how she got them. But so with that said, I think that those things should take place. I know multiple women that are single mothers, and they fear for their life and they fear for their child's well-being in their lives. I know like three sides of all of this. And all of it is murky, and all of it is tricky, and all of it needs to be worked out. Whenever I post something about fathers needing to be in their child's life, I will always get pushback. I will always get pushback, and it's like, well, what the father? He's dangerous. He's a danger to her. He's a danger to this and that person. I will not let him see her. Da 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 da. Listen, it's clear that, and I'm not caping for what he did. I don't think what he did was right, and this is why this is the Adventures of Rogue the Machine in his unpopular opinion. Let's be clear, what he did was incorrect. What he did was heinous. What he did was otherworldly. What he did was, in my opinion, something supernatural had to overtake him in order to do that. He had to have been opened up to some sort of evil force in order to be able to do that. Now, with that said, circumstances avail you to certain things and expose you to certain things. They expose you to bitterness. They expose you to hatred. They expose you to murder. They expose you to, all ungodly things. So I'm not giving credit to him, and I'm not saying that, look, this is where it leads to. I'm not championing that, but sometimes what's not shown is the video, right? What's not shown is the video. He said, look, the holidays are coming up. I don't have any family. My kids are all I have. And I don't think at that moment he was forced. I don't think at that moment she forced him to do anything. I think the end of it was all, of course, he says it. The current mother of my, the current relationship that I'm in, she is threatening with me not being able to see my kids. I can barely go through this now. I'm at my wit's end. I'm not going to be able to go through this again. And you are not going to hang this over my head. I'm not using him as an example. I don't want to use him as an example. But I will say, women and men alike, be cautious about people and the lengths that you're pushing them to and through. Some people cannot handle what you think that they can handle. That was it for him. Now, obviously, he had some mental issues, and he had some, some domestic violence issues that he needed to square away. Now, understand that she should not be anywhere near him, and if she feels like he's going to danger to children, she needs to set up with the judge some ways for. She needed to. It's too late now. I'm sad to say. But I would say she needed to, and I don't want to put this on her, but I would like, it would have been nice, and it could have, and what I'm not saying is, this is why he got pushed to the edge, but for all intents and purposes, this might have been why he got pushed to the edge. And I know you saying, Keith, this is nasty. You defending this man. I'm not. I'm saying sometimes people do not know what a person can and cannot handle. And by them, but also what I want to say is this. If a father wants to be in a child's life, I think not for the sake of the father, but for the sake of the child, you need to find a way, and hear what I'm saying. You need to find a way to make that happen, and to make it happen safely. Now, someone sent me, and I guess I'm on a roll now. Let me see. Someone sent me a post the other day, and I told them, I said, this is triggering, and I completely disagree with this. But this is on par with what we're talking about right now. So let me find it. And she sent it to me thinking that I guess she thought I was going to be okay with it. But it was from previous conversations that we had. And I won't say who it was, but she has kept her child from the child's father. And, well, let me not say that. She hasn't he hasn't really made an attempt to see him, but she for a while she was saying no, I'm not going. And me and apparently other people in her corner were saying like, nah, you got to let him see him for the baby, not for him and not for you, but for the child. It's important. So this is from one Brian Smith on Instagram, or Facebook or wherever, who said, everyone says, quote unquote, a child needs their father. But no, it's not that easily put. Stop right there. Yes, it is. Yes, it is that easily put. It is. Point blank, period. Every child needs their father. Every child needs a father, but more specifically, every child needs their father. It is that easily put. It is. And let's continue. A child needs a safe dad. I'm gonna just read it and then I'm gonna go over because this is inflammatory to me. A child needs a safe dad, a providing dad, a consistent dad, a dad that understands his children are more important than anything else in his life. It is also important for a mother to protect her child from any harm or toxic people, and that includes parents and family members. Shame on anyone that puts his child's safety and well-being aside for their own personal feel-good moments. I hated every part of this. I hated and I still do. I hate it even more now that I'm reading it again. Let's talk about it. Let me take a swig of this water real quick. Here's why I hate it. But no, it's not that easily put. We already went over that. A child needs a safe dad. Let's read this whole sentence. A child needs a safe dad, a providing dad, a consistent dad. This implies you putting these adjectives in front of dad implies that dads aren't already like this. It's implicit. You are implying that fathers, that real dads already don't do this. A child needs a safe dad. Well, a real dad would be safe. A providing dad. Well, a real dad would provide. A consistent dad. A real dad would be consistent. So that's what we're talking about here. This notion that, and we'll get to it because you'll see it further down the line. This notion that fathers are inherently dangerous and mothers are inherently safe. Fathers are innately dangerous or unsafe or unproviding or inconsistent. It's not true. And this is a black man that I'm reading this from. A dad that understands his children are more important than anything else in his life. It is also important for a mother to protect her child. Time out. Time out. Is that not the dad's job also, if not more so, to protect his child? It's also important for a mother to protect her child from any harm. That's a father's job, more than a mother's job. Or toxic people. That includes parents and family members. That's a father's job too. That's a parent's job, period. Shame on anyone that puts a child's safety and well-being aside for their own personal feel-good moments. What are you talking about? Were you saying that a parent would just dump the child off at the father's house just because they want to party or something like that? That's not necessarily the case. But how about I do need time away? How about this person needs to spend time with their father? How about they need to spend time with their father to be able to know who they are and who they are in full? This is the type of thought that is emitted and is lurking and is seeping, and it's not trying to seep in. It's already there, and it's just this underlying thing that dads they just ready to not be there. They'll be there if you ask them to, but they not really involved. They're not really trying to be doing it. No, what happens is that you get somebody that don't want you to be involved at all, or would rather you not be involved, or already has in their mind that you're not going to be involved and got their own issues of not got their own issues of being disappointed, that they go on and say, well, you're not going to be there anyway, so I'm going to treat you like you already not there, so I'm not further disappointed, and my child isn't disappointed. You cannot do that. You need to go to therapy, and you need to work out your issues. Now, back to this man. Back to this case, and because we're talking about safety and all of those things, and I am of the belief that every child does need their father. I don't care who they are. I don't care if their father is on death row. They need their dad. Now, in the capacity that they are able to engage with him, that is the nuance. That's where it gets murky. That's where it should get murky. What should be standard is you need a relationship. Forget you need a relationship with my child. My child needs a relationship with you. Now, how much we need to decide. Now, if the person is unwell, you take them to court. Let the courts decide if the person is unwell. Do your best to prove that this person is unwell. Try your best not to put your child in harm's way. I know a mother whose father did something heinous to the child, but she's still trying to find a way for her to have a good relationship with her father. So what I'm saying is this, is that, hey man, all right, so you've done X, Y, and Z. This says to me that you are not able to, you cannot handle this and that. So let's not do this and that. You have proven to be very unsafe in this way. So I will come, but I will set up this, that, and the third, so that my child is safe, so that I'm safe, and so that you're safe. Let us find a way to be able to do this properly, so that everybody walks out of here the same way in which they came, and maybe even better. I pray for the kids who now no longer have a father, and the father, the baby that was getting ready to be born, they did not survive, and they are now with the Lord. But yeah, it's something to think about, man. Let me see if my camera works now. All right. It's something to think about. I would say that, because at the end of the day, sometimes like that's all it is. And sometimes what the mother is trying to do is, I don't like him. He don't want to be with me. So now let me keep him away from what he does want to be with. And we need to be able to recognize that and sift that out. I do pray for them. I do feel for him. I do feel for him. I do. And that is a part of why I wanted to say that, because I do feel for him. That is not the route to take. Obviously, there was something wrong with him. Obviously, everything was wrong with what he did. But it is only by the grace of God that none of us are our worst selves. And we'll leave that there. Not saying that any of us are capable of that. I don't want to say that. But thank God that we won't get to that point. That's why you need to have the right people around you. That's why you need to have the right lawyer. That's why you need to have, you know what I mean? Like, if you are going through this, if you are a man that is going through some form of this, like, yo, I want to see my kid, I feel like a piece of me is missing, and all of that type of stuff. Excuse me, you need to find a way. Forget whatever she's saying, because if she's that type of way, what she's going to try to do is make you feel like you should not be involved. She's going to try to validate those negative thoughts that you have about yourself. That's her job. If she's trying to keep you away from your kids, she's going to try to validate every negative thing about you so that you feel unworthy of being involved in your child's life. Not so. Your child is not better off without you. Stop thinking that. And like I said, I'll leave that there, man. I will leave that there. We're looking to have the group chat back sometime in February. Man, a lot of surprises and gearing up for that. For real, for real. Not a lie, not a joke. And if you are a patron on Patreon, you will get all of those updates before anyone else. And I'm going to keep plugging that. All of our full episodes will be on Patreon. All of our full episodes will be on Patreon. If you are listening to this on any podcast platform, you are not getting the full episode. If you are listening to any of this on YouTube, you are not getting the full episode. So go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/ thank God for the group chat to subscribe to subscribe to listen to the full versions of the podcast for only $1 a month to start. We have more tiers on Patreon up to $5 a month. But if you are unsure, please start at the thankful and groupie tiers, which are our $1 and $2 tiers. For updates like these, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to Fresh Air Media on YouTube for all of our upcoming content. If you're not a patron, you'll find out all of this stuff just not nearly as fast and not nearly as early as the patrons do. The patrons even get early access to stuff. There's so much going on at Patreon that y'all are getting the short end of the stick. We really would like y'all to come on over, but if not, we appreciate y'all right where y'all are. And it's fine as long as y'all participating. But if you want more, trust and believe that there's more.